Hello? What? Hello, hello, hello. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Hope you're all having a good time. Um, Start recording. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. Big news with Tesla just reporting. I think surprisingly early, Tesla reported their production and delivery numbers for Q3. I don't know if anybody's watching yet. Are we live? Are we going? Hello, hello. Hey, Sir Toby. All right, so we'll start here. Hello, hello, hello. This is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. Hi, Kazaz. So we have big news this morning. Tesla reported their production and delivery numbers. I'm going to go in a little bit more depth on this, energy storage as well. I think they did this early. I think this is earlier than usual. I think they usually would report this after the stock market's closed, and instead they reported before the stock market opened. So I think they may have caught some people off guard. Roughly, the number of vehicles delivered is about what analysts estimated. So I don't think this is the most important thing that we're seeing in the news. Energy storage, this is a dip. I'm going to show you some. Let me just show you these numbers. So first of all, this is the press release itself. You can see wait, that's the wrong one. Okay, this is the press release. So in the third quarter, we produced approximately 470,000 vehicles. You can see that here. We delivered approximately 463,000. You can see that here. And then they mention up here, we deployed 6.9 gigawatt hours of energy storage products. Now, you can just see here that production is up. This is the previous quarter. So production is up dramatically. Production of Model 3 and Y in particular is up dramatically. You went from 410,000 or 411,000 produced to 469,000 produced. Deliveries from 444,000 to 463,000. So deliveries didn't grow as much as production. Hi, Rich. Hi, Matt. Hi, Thomas. Thank you guys for watching. And then in the previous quarter, they deployed 9.4 gigawatt hours, which was unusually large. And I anticipated, I think I said so, like there's probably going to be a fallback in the next quarter. And then it's going to grow over time. But the previous quarter, it was only 4 gigawatt hours. So we went from 4 gigawatt hours to 9 and back to 6. And it will probably over time be closer to the something like 10 gigawatt hours a quarter. And that will grow over time as Mega Shanghai goes online. Hey, Breakfast Pizza. So I see we've got a bunch of people watching. Let me just hit this critical point again. Tesla produced approximately 470,000 vehicles in Q2. In Q3, they delivered approximately 463,000, and they deployed about 7 gigawatt hours of energy storage products. And you can see the comparison. Model 3 and Y production increased a lot. Model 3 and Y deliveries increased a lot. The thing that I want to draw your attention to is look at other models. So other models is Model S, Model X, and Cybertruck. So look at the previous quarter. We had production of 24,000, deliveries of 21,500. We went up less than 2,000 units produced, and we went up 1,400 units delivered. Well, Cybertruck dramatically increased its volume from Q2 to Q3. I think we know with confidence that Cybertruck volume increased dramatically. So my theory, this is a theory. I mean, I think literally like they may have delivered 5,000 or even 10,000 Cybertrucks in Q3. So if they went from a very low volume of Cybertrucks, they added 5 or 10,000 Cybertrucks in the quarter, and then the other models didn't increase by much. That suggests to me something I've been concerned about for a while, that Model S and Model X have collapsed. They're done. They're not, I think Tesla is not able to sell Model S and X. I think they have reduced production of Model S and X because they know they're not able to sell them. And I have my crazy theory that is not popular. People think I'm nuts. Omar thinks I'm nuts. Everybody thinks I'm nuts. Tesla has to do a new Model X. I think it's just, and thank you, Breakfast Pizza, for mentioning it. I don't see it being a big Model X. I see it being an extended Model Y. Like the easiest way to manufacture a new Model X would be to build it on the Model Y platform. Just make it longer. Maybe a little wider, but make it longer. Give it a legitimate third row. Ditch the Falcon Wing doors. I mean, you can say you love the Falcon Wing doors. I owned a Model X, and I had the Falcon Wing doors. They are great, but it's an incredibly expensive vehicle to produce, and it's an incredibly difficult vehicle to make money on. And you can't sell it in volume. So if you did a third row Model Y, a legit Model Y, but like with a third row, call it a Model X or the new Model X, or call it the extended Model Y, I don't care. Produce it on the line that currently produces Model S and X. And I think you sell $250,000 a year if you price it at $60,000. And that's a big, big impact. I just did a video on this recently. That's a big impact on Tesla. Mark Plot. Hey, Mark, thank you for joining. Mark Plot says Tesla Model Y outsold the F-150, Silverado, GMC 1500, and Ram September 2024. I assume you mean not all of them together. It outsold any of them. Yeah, well, I don't think F-150 Lightning adds up to very much anyway. So yeah, Model Y sold really well. That's great. But if you look at the numbers, like, you just look at these numbers. We'll ditch this one. If you look at these numbers, like, it's just not enough, right? Okay, they produced and delivered, 440,000 Model 3s and Ys. And what I'm surprised about, I thought Model 3 was ramping. So JOR3L says could also be a third row based on the cheaper Cybertruck architecture. Cybertruck architecture is not cheap. They're going to be ramping Cybertruck for 2 or 3 years. Will they make a cyber SUV in the future? Sure, maybe, but that's not coming anytime soon. They have a very, very large volume of Cybertruck orders to satisfy. So they're not. I don't see a cyber SUV coming anytime soon. I could be wrong, but where are they going to make it? And will they be able to get costs down? Like, if you do a third row Model Y, a legit, 1 foot longer third Model Y with a legit third row, and you use that extra length, you lengthen the wheelbase and you increase the number of battery cells. So you go from a 80 kilowatt hour pack to a 100 kilowatt hour pack, and you haven't increased, and then you use 48 volt architecture, and maybe you throw in the rear wheel steering from Cybertruck. I don't know, but if you do those things, you make a very, very compelling car for a much lower price. And that's what's good. You can say, oh, really cool to have a cyber SUV, but what's going to sell cars is getting a competitive product at a price people can afford. And that Model Y that I'm talking about will sell in other countries. Cybertruck's only selling in the United States. It's popular. People will like it, but I'm here in Thailand. Thailand's the number 2 market in the world for pickup trucks. They can't afford it. And it's too big. The Ford Ranger is the rough size of pickup trucks in Thailand and Australia, pretty much anywhere else outside North America. And the Cybertruck is as large as an F-150, so it's just too big and too expensive. Mark Plot says, Warren, S and X are too expensive, interest rate cost too high, Q2 2024. Yeah, well, but look, Q3 probably got better, but S and X sales collapsed. I want to stress this. This is the number that I think is the most important thing here. Other models, production went up about 2,000 units. Deliveries went up about 1,400 units, 1,500 units. I think that's less than 1,400 units. But Cybertruck's sales, production and sales went up way more than 1,400. Cybertruck's production and sales probably went up like 5 or 10,000 compared to the previous quarter. So this means that S and X sales have collapsed. That's the thing. Breakfast Pizza says, love my Model Y with bigger would be great. Yeah, well, no, Model Y, like, if you're in Thailand, right, Model Y is big. If you're in Japan, Model Y is big. But there is a market for that vehicle with a legit third row, and they would sell here in Thailand. There are EVs, there are other vehicles that have legit third rows that sell here in Thailand, that sell in China. China's the largest car market in the world. Mark Plot says Cybertruck now selling in Mexico, Canada, and South Korea. Yeah, but how many Cybertrucks is South Korea going to buy? They don't have vehicles I don't think they have vehicles that large commonly in South Korea, and it's just a certain size market. Pickup trucks are not bought in other countries very much. So it's nice that they're selling it in South Korea. I think they're selling it in South Korea. We'll see. Canada, we expected that. Mexico, that'll be nice. But there's plenty of market for a Cybertruck in the United States for the next 2 years. right? It's not like Tesla's going to run out of buyers for Cybertruck unless, they're selling, they're trying to continue the Foundation series a little bit longer to make a little bit extra cash. But now you've got to ramp the facilities in South Korea in order to deliver. So I just think it's about time for the non-Foundation series to start rolling out and volumes to dramatically increase. So Cybertruck will ramp and these numbers will go up, but Model S and Model X are dead. Stick a fork in them, they're dead. I love them. I love the Model S. I owned a Model X. I love the Model X. They're great cars, but they're done. Other models only increased like 1,400 units, and Cybertruck had to increase more than that. So Model S and Model X have tanked. They're done. They're over. It's time to let them go. And we can use that space in Fremont to make an extended Model Y and sell a much larger volume of a much more profitable vehicle that will sell well globally. And maybe make it in China as well, or maybe you find another place where you make it. Maybe you make it in Berlin. I don't know. I think there's a lot of room in Berlin to produce more. So maybe in Berlin, maybe they have space in China. I don't know. But that's a vehicle that needs to happen. Cybertruck would be big in South Africa. South Africa's but they don't have electricity. Look, there's a lot of countries that you can say they would be, Cybertruck would be big there. Where do they sell pickup trucks? Thailand's the number 2 country in the world. Southeast Asia, Malaysia buys some pickup trucks. Outside of, and Australia is not a big population. So outside of Australia and Thailand and Malaysia, there's just not a lot of pickup trucks sold anywhere else in the world. Tesla will make a 3-row conventional vehicle to replace X. That's what I'm saying, Mark. I've been saying this for a while. I think they just make a Model Y. They make it longer. They make an extended Model Y. They extend the wheelbase. They add another 12 inches or so to the length of the vehicle so they can have a legit 3rd row. And because you've lengthened the wheelbase, you have more room for battery cells. And maybe you use 4680 for it if you have enough 4680s. I don't know. I don't think that's necessary. I think you could use 1865 cells, which I think they have a lot of volume available. And you give it a 100 kilowatt hour pack. And you have a 100 kilowatt hour pack in a model and an extended Model Y, you're going to get closer to 350, 360 miles of range. So I think that just sells in very high volume. And maybe you have a lithium iron phosphate version for Asia, or a lower cost. I don't think lithium iron phosphate would even necessarily be cheaper in the US. So this is the just to refresh for people who are new to this the live stream. I don't know how many people are watching, 230 or so. Tesla, I'll just put this up first. Tesla announced surprisingly early. It was in the morning in the United States. Usually it's done, I think, in the afternoon. They announced production and deliveries, and the numbers, I think they slightly beat estimates on deliveries, and that's like barely. The consensus was like just under, they beat it by a few hundred. And my guess is that average selling price is going to go up because Cybertruck is expensive. I don't know how many more models of Cybertruck they sold. And just energy storage, 6.9 gigawatt hours. That's a decline from Q2, but it's a big increase from Q1. And I think we're going to see long-term Tesla's going to start delivering close to 10 gigawatt hours of energy storage a quarter, especially once the Shanghai Mega Factory ramps. Firefly Hill says, everyone waiting for refresh Y like me should have released new 3 and Y within a few months. Everyone's seen the new 3. No, I don't think this has anything to do with that. Look, the Model 3 and Y sales went up dramatically. Deliveries went up more than 17.5 thousand units, 17,500 units. They increased sales of 3 and Y. So if everyone's waiting for a refresh Y, then why are they selling more cars? Right? No, that's not true. Everyone's not waiting. There's a bunch of nerds inside the Tesla community who think there's a new Model Y coming, and they might be right. Maybe there's a new Model Y coming. And that would be a good fit, by the way. If you're going to do a new Model Y, and you're going to give it 48 volt, and you're going to give it a few other things from the next generation vehicle, then build it an extended Model Y, call it a new Model X, or call it an extended Model Y, whatever, sell it for 60 grand, and build it on the Model S and X line in Fremont. I think that makes a ton of sense. Maybe Fremont's not as efficient of a factory, and maybe you build it in Texas, but what are you doing with that space in Fremont? Because that space is wasted on S and X. They're just not doing much. Brian from Futuraza said that, Aza, is that his new name? Said that energy numbers lower because of permits. No. See, this is the thing where, like, I'm not a fan of that guy. To be blunt, I'm not a fan of that guy. we don't know there's a new Y coming. There's probably a new Y. The car's only 3 years old, 4 years old, maybe. Like, what's the big deal? So Tesla energy numbers aren't lower because of permits. They're higher. Okay. That the average before Q2 was, was under 4 gigawatt hours. So this is a big jump. Q2 was an abnormal leap. And, over the long haul, we're going to see 10 gigawatt hours and more per quarter. But Q2 was just like, an abnormal leap. And you expect regression to the mean if you understand statistics. Unbox process 3, Y and 3. No, unbox process is not happening yet, Mark. In the slide deck from the previous 1 or 2 quarters, they said that they're going to have new vehicles using some of the advanced technology that's going to be in the next generation vehicle, but the unbox process vehicle, they're going to continue working on that. Seems like they barely made it even with aggressive incentives. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, did they have aggressive incentives in China? Did they have aggressive incentives everywhere else in the world? I think people tend to over focus on what happens in the US and not realize that China's a bigger market. That I think Tesla's sales are less than 50% US. So there's a lot of stuff happening. And they didn't do the incentives for the entire quarter. But they barely made it. Look, the delivery numbers are up about 20,000 units, 19,000 units total compared to the previous quarter. So they're selling more cars. Don't pitch it like this is a terrible quarter. They beat estimates slightly. They sold a decent volume of cars. Cybertruck is growing. But like I said, what I think stands out is if other models only increased by 1,400 units, Tesla probably made a lot more, increased Cybertruck production by a lot more than 1,400 units in the last quarter. So Model S and Model X are collapsing. Modern, larger. I don't mean a larger Model X, R. Coleman. I think the new Model X could end up being smaller than the current Model X, but have more interior room, more useful interior room. Because the third row on the Model X isn't that great. I have one with a third row, or had one with a third row. Guy getting mad at people asking questions. I don't think I'm getting mad. I don't know who Too Funny is, but I don't think I'm getting mad. Mark Plot, do I look like I'm getting mad? Tesla dude says best Q3 ever. Yeah. Happy Thailander. Yeah, no, and look, I don't focus on these quarterly numbers. I do think that October 10th is going to be the big deal. I'm very excited about October 10th. I'm very excited about what's happening with FSD. I'm very excited what's happening with real world AI, with what's going on with Optimus. I think there's lots of good news happening. People are going to freak out about these numbers because this is short-term stuff. If you're a long-term investor, how many vehicles did they beat estimates for the quarter? Like, that's a Gary Black thing. That's, Barry Black numbers. Who cares? Did they beat numbers? Oh, they need to get out a $25,000 car. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. James Stevenson put out a great graph. I'll take a look at that later. I'm not going to look at it now. Oh yeah, elonbits.com for merchandise. Thank you, Mark. I'll just show you the t-shirt I'm wearing right now. This is the I cheat on my diet, I don't cheat on my women t-shirt. I think this is available on, I don't think it sells. The Tesla and Air t-shirt, the Tesla's the next Tesla t-shirt, the Be Less Wrong t-shirt. Those are the popular ones. Please take a look at elonbits.com and buy a shirt. I don't sell very many. I don't make a lot of money on it, but I think they're fun. We need smaller Y3 for Europe, not bigger in EU. Well, I think there's smaller vehicles coming. They've said that there are smaller vehicles coming. That's going to happen. And not just in Europe, it's also in Asia. That's going to be helpful. If they deliver, like, Model 3 here sells for like 40, I think it's something like $45,000, maybe it's $40,000. So if you get a car that sells for $35,000 or $30,000, if they make it smaller and you make it more efficient and you find a way to make it in high volume at low cost and you can sell it at a lower price point, that's going to make a big dent in a lot of places. What are full year numbers trending towards? 1.8. I actually don't pay attention to the quarterly numbers, the short-term numbers or delivery numbers. The thing that's going to matter, the things that are going to matter for the future are, like, what are we going to see on October 10th? We are seeing that FSD version 12.5.4 or whatever, we're seeing some massive improvements in FSD. I think Cybertruck just got FSD, and Chuck Cook, if you watch Chuck Cook's channel, he did a pretty good video on Cybertruck FSD. Tesla stock is down. I haven't even looked at the stock price. Ah, it's 5%. That's not a lot. People panic. People panic so easily. Tesla stock's down 5%. Like, how long you been in the stock? 5%. It's at 245. It was like 108, like, I don't know, a year or two ago. It was like $108 a share. After battery day, they struggled with 4680. Now production is 40. Yeah, so 4680 is a big deal, but Wall Street doesn't care about 4680. The non-Tesla nerds don't care about 4680. They don't see the value there. They don't get it. They want to see, because 4680 doesn't have a revenue line. It's not in the books. It's not in the financials that here's how much money we made on 4680. So the Barry Glacks of the world, the Wall Streeters, they don't see it. It may lower costs of goods sold in the medium to long term, but right now not. Natalia says we need bigger SUV than Model Y in USA in between Model Y and sorry. Well, that's what I'm pushing for. An extended Model Y. Take the Model Y, make it 12 inches longer, 30 centimeters longer for those of you in other countries that use a real measuring system. 30 centimeters longer so you can put a legit third row in it. And you can also, because you've extended it, you can put a larger battery pack in it. Either an LFP battery pack in Asia where people don't drive as far, and in Asia the LFP is going to cost a lot less. In the US, if you're using nickel-based cells that are produced by Panasonic or 4680s, then Tesla's getting a pretty big tax credit for it. So I don't think so. Mark Plot says Cybertruck SUV three row will be built. There may be a cyber SUV coming, but there's no urgency for Tesla to deliver a cyber SUV because they have basically unlimited demand for Cybertruck. So they have to ramp Cybertruck. It's going to take 2 years to sufficiently ramp Cybertruck to meet the demand for that. And I don't think they have the 4680 cells to also sell a cyber SUV. And then what's the cyber SUV going to cost? Because it's going to be more than 60 grand. It's going to be 80 grand. And then if you sell a $60,000 three-row SUV, you're going to sell a lot more. $80,000, the market's just small. Our score says the market in China sub 400 million or so can actually afford high-end products, and that's falling as China's economically collapsing. I don't think China's economically collapsing. I agree that the high-end market is probably smaller, but it's still large. China is the largest car market in the world. It's the largest car market in the world. Bob Hanna, I laughed when I saw the drop today. It's typical. Yeah, I mean, look, it's early in the day. By the end of the day, the stock could be up 10%. It could be down another 5% more. Like, who knows? I just don't, and I don't day trade, Bob. Good for you. But I stay away from day trading. I'm holding, hold. I will say, like, my one concern going forward, and I've been thinking, to those who follow me closely, I sold 20% before the shareholder vote, and I bought back in right after, and I effectively bought 95% of what I sold. The price went up a little bit. I couldn't buy all of it because I used the cash I'd sold with in order to buy it. So I have 99% of the stock I had before. I am thinking for the election, I might sell 20% before the election, because if Kamala wins, I think that's very bad for the stock. For the company long term, I think that's very bad for the company, and thus it's bad for the stock. Kiamte says production delivery is always announced in the morning at US time. Okay. I believe you. Yeah, 5% is nothing. I'm if you have questions, please let me know in the chat. There's some, I don't think I'm angry. I think I'm actually happy. I really think that the big deal going forward is going to be, the big deal going forward is what's going to happen on October 10th. What is that going to signal for the future? Right? We know that version 13 is coming, and version 13 is going to be significantly better than version 12. Like, we're on 12.5.4, 12.5.5, and it's very good. Mark Plot says China's car market went from 300,000 in 2000s to 1,000 OEMs in 2020. It's going to, the Chinese manufacturing side of the market, the number of vehicle manufacturers will collapse. But, BYD will continue to do well. I think there's a number of EV makers there that will continue to do well. There will be a big 5 or a big 10 in China that will do okay. BYD, I think, is relatively profitable. They're getting some subsidies from the Chinese government, but they're selling cars here in Thailand, and they're popular. The EVs are selling here, and they're non-EVs. They're partial hybrid EVs or whatever are selling here too. China's doing well in Thailand. I don't know if Thailand is representative of the rest of the world, but I don't know why it wouldn't be. China's the biggest car market in the world for sub $30,000 cars. Look, I definitely think that there's opportunity for Tesla to sell a sub $30,000 car, and I think it's coming. I think that they may have a. Why would it be bad for Tesla if Kamala wins? Um, the the Biden Kamala administration has been attacking Elon pretty relentlessly for the last 4 years. Before he bought X, don't blame him for buying X. Don't blame him for his mean tweets. They were attacking, the Tesla, the EV summit where Tesla was not invited was 2021, before Elon had done anything that no one would like. So I think we can expect that. We've heard Democratic politicians say they want Elon arrested. I think there's a significant risk that Kamala will find a way to arrest Elon. Is it a 90% chance that she'll have him arrested? No. Is there a 10% chance? Yeah. Why was Pavel Durov arrested? My theory is that Pavel Durov was arrested as a signal to Elon. And Mark Zuckerberg got the signal and he freaked out. So D. Patel says, Warren, your new life in Thailand and married life looks great on you. Thank you so much. I do a lot of cardio. I do a lot of strength training. I went to the gym today and did some strength training. Woohoo! There's a bruise here. Don't worry about that. But, definitely, a lot of muscle, big shoulders, big back, everything like that. It's all good. Could lose some body fat, though. And she says, what is your expectations of October 10 and Elon's role in the upcoming Trump presidency? So let's talk about October 10th first. I think that we're going to see the next generation vehicle, the robo-taxi vehicle. We're going to see what they're planning, and it's going to be unexpected. I think it's going to be something different than what people expect. Some people think it's going to be a two-seater. My gut hunch is I think it would make sense to do a two-seater, but I think it'll be four. I think it'll be a 4 or 5-seater. And that's just a guess. I think there's a chance that they show us some other new vehicles. And my prediction, based on what I see in these numbers, the low volume of other models with Cybertruck ramping, the increase of only 1,400 units, my theory is that we're going to see a new Model X. Or it could be just an extended Model Y. I don't think we're going to see a refreshed Model Y, because I think Elon said nothing's happening this year with Model Y. So I don't think that's happening. I think we're going to see the first production version of Optimus, because Elon has basically said that's ready. So why not show us the first production version of Optimus? I think we're going to see some sort of path for FSD to version 13 and beyond. I think we might see, some people think we're going to see like details on the Robotaxi app or the plans for, whether it's supervised rideshare or unsupervised rideshare. We're going to see something about that. I don't know. 24-inch pythons. I don't think so. No, like by the way, sorry. We were talking about me strength training stuff. I'm bigger. I'm not big. I have added a lot of muscle mass. I'm not that strong. I'm 58 years old. There's only so much you can do with a body that's old. But I've made progress, and I probably at the gym 2 hours today. I go to the gym typically for 2 hours. And I take my time, and I take, 3 to 5 minutes between sets. So now the other question from D was, what do I think of Elon's role in the upcoming Trump presidency? They've been pretty clear about this. They're going to create a Department of Government Efficiency or something like that, a commission to review where can they cut spending, where can they cut regulations, and where can they cut spending. I don't think they're going to be able politically to achieve what Elon would like to achieve, but I think they can make significant cuts in the size of the U.S. government and the extent of regulation, and do some really meaningful regulatory reform that makes it easier for companies like Tesla and beyond Tesla and SpaceX and other companies that are not Elon companies to really innovate and manufacture and do great things and build things. We need to get government out of the way so these things can happen. And we need to cut spending because we're in a fiscal nightmare. And so they'll have some sort of committee or commission, and Elon will be chair of the committee, and they'll meet several times, and they'll start looking government. They'll look at, and what I would do is I would identify one thing at a time, maybe 2 or 3 things at a time. Identify things that are absurd. That we're spending $4 billion a year on studying why dolphins use cocaine or something stupid, like some of these stupid science things we see that they do. And identify the most obvious things you want to cut that have the least political support and are the easiest to persuade voters on. And you go to Congress and you say, we want this cut. We want a bill to cut this now. and you go to the Speaker of the House and you say, I want this on the floor, and you go to, and you identify who's the resistance, and you say, if this isn't in a bill and approved, if you vote against this, if you stall this, we're going to be in your district tomorrow. Next week we're going to be in your district. We're going to be telling your voters, and we're going to primary you if you're a Republican, and we're going to beat you if you're a Democrat, because we're going to show your voters that you are not for the people. Yeah, $4,000 toilet seat's a great example, but it has to be substantial. You can't identify, like something that's going to save $4 million. That's not going to be, you've got to save billions. You got to save tens of billions. So you identify the biggest low hanging fruit. And like one of my favorite examples is, was it Radio Free Europe or something like that? There was this radio during the Soviet Union. We had Voice of America, something like that. We had this program to send radio signals into Europe, into Eastern Europe, and Russia, so they would hear the voice of freedom. Well, not that many people listen to the radio anymore, but I think we spend like $100 million a year on that. Now, I think I'm making a good point there, but $100 million isn't enough. You got to do more than that. And delete the Department of Education. Well, you got to save. You want to save trillions, yes, but you need to save tens of billions now. You need to start with 10 billion here and 30 billion here and 50 billion there. You can't in one swing knock off $1 trillion a year. It's not going to work that way. But you got to see if you can make a dent. I could talk about that stuff indefinitely. Yeah, the marriage agrees with me. I agree. Honestly, like I'm super happy. My wife is beautiful. My wife is kind. My wife is just a wonderful person. Makes me happy. Makes me excited about the future. We're making plans for the future, and I'm just thrilled. And then, seriously, like, I believe this. If you are retired, then you should be going to the gym an hour a day or more. I mean, start with an hour a week. Start with 2 hours a week. But if you're retired, you have time. Like, if you have a job and you got to work, 60 hours a week, you don't have time to go to the gym for 2 hours a day. But I have time to go to the gym 2 hours a day, and I go to the gym not every day. I skipped a couple. If you beat up on yourself too much, you got to take a break. You got to figure it out. But if you do cardio 3 days a week and you do strength training 2 days a week, you're going to get a lot stronger. You're going to get a lot healthier. You're going to look a lot better. I still have these wrinkles though. Revamp Medicare. So, Mark, the Medicare Social Security thing, it's not low-hanging fruit. That's a really, really difficult thing to reform. It's really, really difficult to reform Medicare and Social Security. They need to be reformed. It's true. Very, very difficult to do that politically. Maybe if you get a Republican House and Senate, but I just think that will rain down on you in the next election. You'll get clobbered in the next election if you do something. If you make seniors think that their Social Security and Medicare are at risk, you have to do it at some point, but that's not the first thing I would do. I would establish a pattern of we're cutting things and we're successful at cutting things, and at some point you take a big swing. But the number of voters who would be opposed, if you have something obvious like we're spending $10 billion a year on studying why frogs are transgender, right? You go to the and some congressman opposes you cutting it. You go to his district and you go to his voters and you say, this guy needs to go. And the voters start throwing rocks at his, okay, they're not going to throw rocks, but the voters make it plain to the congressman that he better change his behavior or else he's going to lose out in a primary and election. That's a winner. When you say we're going to do something with Social Security, Medicare, now all the seniors in the district are opposed to what you want to do, and you're not going to sway any members of Congress with that. You can audit. I'm not sure what audit accomplishes. I think the whole point of the committee would be to figure all that stuff out. Like, where can we save money? And you pick one thing a week or 3 things a month, and you do that. Do you think Elon has set himself up to have to step down as Tesla CEO if Harris wins? They will come after him regardless. They will come after Tesla regardless, whether he's CEO or not. They will come after him. I don't know it 100%. I just, everything we're seeing, arresting Pavel Durov, the harassment of SpaceX, the insanity that they canceled the Starlink contract, and now we're seeing the consequences of that in North Carolina. And the mainstream media, the Democrat voters don't care. There's partisan Republican voters, there's partisan Democrat voters. You're not going to swing them. There's middle voters. What really is going to happen is you're going to get more people to come out on one side, or you're going to depress the turnout on another side. But trying to persuade Democrats that Biden and Kamala suck because of immigration and because, an example like the Starlink thing, they don't care. Orange man bad. They have orange man bad syndrome. Remove the AMA's cap on licensing, only 110,000 new doctors a year. See, there now you have a problem. If you try to tamper with doctor licensing, then the doctors are going to be upset, and the doctors are going to fund the opposition, and the doctors are going to tell the voters that this is bad. And they might be lying, but that's not an easy sell to the voters. I believe we should have more, more doctor training, sure. But that's not an easy one to persuade. That's not an easy one to intimidate a congressman with, because all the doctors are going to tell them, no, we don't want that. Quitting subsidizing oil will save you. Yeah, not subsidizing oil would be big. And like me, like I don't think Trump's going to do this. I don't know that Elon would say this, but bring all the troops home. I think Trump has made some noise about this. Like, bring all the troops home from Europe. What are they doing there? What are we defending France from who? Bring the troops home. Bring the troops home from Europe. Bring the troops home from Japan. But I don't think Trump will do that. I think he should. I don't think it would be politically damaging to do it. I think it would actually be politically popular. But I don't know that they'll do that. If cost for healthcare drops enough, you can get rid of Medicare and such. Cost for healthcare is not going to drop that. You can't make that kind of radical change that quickly. It's not. I shouldn't say you can't. I mean, you can look at Argentina, and Javier Milei is doing great things. You could probably try to learn from what Milei is doing, but I just don't know how successful that's going to be. I think that's hard. I think you can identify a lot of things you can pick off without getting a lot of political opposition, and you build up credibility. We're cutting spending, we're making progress here, and then you start taking on some harder battles. But it's a long project. You don't need to fix everything in the first week. You gotta take your time and figure it out over time. Okay, so ending agricultural subsidies. Now you got the farmers against you. You got to be careful with that. Like, there's districts with, how many districts have a significant farmer vote? They're a very powerful lobby. It's just not so easy. All right. So I want to just go back and let people know the original point of this video was that Tesla announced that they produced 470,000 vehicles in the quarter, delivered about 463,000 vehicles, and they deployed 6.9 gigawatt hours of energy storage. These are generally positive numbers. The delivery number is like barely above the Wall Street consensus estimate. The energy storage number is down from the previous quarter, but up significantly from any quarter before that. So I think people who expected the energy storage number to grow, I'm told that Brian, future Asa, whatever, said that there was some reason for it. Like, no. The maximum they could conceivably do is 10 gigawatt hours a quarter, and they're still ramping to that. And there's contractual issues, whatever, but the fact that it dropped from 9 to 7 is not a big deal. It's up from 4. It's up from 3, right? And we're going to see it gradually. This is going to end up being 10 or more per quarter, but we're getting there. What's the stock reflection of this? I think the stock. Somebody said I haven't looked at it. What's the stock now? The stock is down 4%. The stock is down 3.6%. It was down 5% earlier. Stock's going to go up and down. Like, I don't worry about the short-term stuff. The short-term stuff's irrelevant. Like, even this, like, these numbers are not particularly important. The important thing to be aware of is that the other model's number did not increase enough. The other model's number, with the volume of Cybertrucks that was sold in Q3 compared to Q2, this is an increase of 1,400 units. It had to increase more than 1,400 units. I think it increased like 5,000 or 10,000 units. So that means Model S and Model X sales have cratered. They've collapsed, and it's time to rip the Band-Aid off on Model S and X and do use that line to produce an extended Model Y, or call it a new Model X with a legit third row and a 100 kilowatt hour pack. The Gormless Twit says, "Are you all in on Tesla?" I'm effectively all in on Tesla. I have some cash. I don't think I have any other stocks anymore, but I might have like a tiny bit of stock in something. I'm not sure about that, but it's like 90. And other than cash. Yeah, I'm like 99.8% Tesla, or not. I don't know if it's 98 or 100% Tesla. Energy storage is lumpy as big products take time and don't have. Well, it's just that you're going to have surges and falls. So there might be a quarter where we have 12 gigawatt hours, and over time, once the Shanghai Mega Factory ramps, you're going to have a ceiling of 20 gigawatt hours a quarter. And then there's probably going to be another mega factory, maybe more. Tesla's production neutral and profitable. Automakers are effed. Yeah. I don't think China Megapack is online yet, Mark. I think that haven't finished building the factory yet. I think it's end of this year or early next year that they start manufacturing at China Megafactory. I don't remember the number on that. So 14.4 says energy was 9.4 in Q2 and now 6 in Q3. No, okay. So it was 9.4 in Q2 and it was 6.9 in Q3. But it was 4 in Q1 and it was below 4 before that. So, you have to understand that these things are volatile. They're going to go up and they're going to go down, and you're going to have big quarters and you're going to have down quarters. But the question is, what's the path? Well, if you take the previous 2 quarters, we've got like 16, right? Which is an average of 8 a quarter. Before that, we were averaging less than 4 a quarter. Pretty good if you ask me. You can take the short-term thing and say, oh, it was down from the previous quarter. You can take it and say, when we look at the long-term trend, right now we're on an average of 8 a quarter instead of an average of less than 4 a quarter. Pretty strong. Yeah, energy deployment is going to be lumpy. That's true. 14.4 says, I want to see if GM will be profitable on the 300-mile Equinox. No. GM is not going to. GM is like, the question is how much are they able to not lose? How much are they able to minimize their losses on their EVs? I mean, I'm hopeful that the Equinox does well. I would love to see GM actually produce an electric vehicle that sold reasonably well. But, the reality is they don't, as far as I know, are they going to have NECS? Are they going to be able to charge at Tesla superchargers? Are they going to have, what people want? Do people want to pay $35,000 for an ugly Chevy EV versus paying $40,000 for a nice Tesla? I don't know. RW says you're all in along with Stephen Mark Ryan. I am 50% of my portfolio. Yeah, I'm not saying anybody else should be all in. Like for me, when I look at the stock market and I say, all right, if I sold some Tesla, what would I buy? So when I sold before in advance of the shareholder vote, I just held cash. And the purpose in holding the cash was to buy back in if the shareholder vote went well and I did what I said. So I may sell 20% of my stock in advance of the election. And I'm talking about days before the election. I might sell like 20%. Hold it, see what happens in the election. If Kamala wins, I might sell a little bit more because I am concerned about the risk to Tesla of Kamala winning the election. And then it also sort of depends, like, well, did they get a majority of the House and Senate too? Because if the Republicans have a majority of the House and Senate, or, and Kamala wins the White House, then she's a lot less dangerous than if she, gets control of both houses too. GM can only build external combustion EVs, external combustion. I think that's funny. If you support microchips in brains, self-driving EVs, and humanoid robots walking among us, isn't that an ultra-progressive point of view? You would think so. Rich Palmasan, a response to title, it means little to nothing, buy, hold, repeat. Yeah, well, no, sorry, Rich. The thing that I noticed, the thing that it means is that other models did not increase enough when you consider how many Cybertrucks we think they sold. And that says that Model S and Model X sales have collapsed. And if Model S and Model X sales have collapsed, I think it's time to let them go. I think it's time to use that line, the S and X line, to manufacture an extended Model Y. And look, I'm out on a limb here. Most people say I'm crazy. I'm okay with that. But that's where I think we are. All right. So I've gone plenty long. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you, Mark Plott, for moderating the chat. Thanks, everybody, for participating in the chat. I'm optimistic, as always, about Tesla's future. And please check out the T-shirts at elonbits.com. There's probably a link in the description below. Please support me on the Locals platform. Sorry, please support me as a subscriber on Twitter, as a YouTube channel member, on the Daily Lie, warrenredlich.locals.com, or on Patreon. Check out my other videos. Please like this video, share, and subscribe. And thanks, everybody.